Hello, everyone. Welcome. I am so excited that you could be with us today as we talk about reframing the way you look at sales. I'm honored to be joined by Joe Marcoux. And if you guys do any sort of selling, you definitely want to be watching this. I will encourage you, if you have any comments, any questions, feel free to put them in the chat there and we will get to them while we're here. Even if you are watching this while we are not live, please put them in the chat and we'll make sure to get back to you, especially if you have any questions for Joe. He's a great source of information. So welcome, Joe. Thanks so much for being here.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. This is my symbol of respect in the dojo. You know it very well, Leah, as you're a member of the Sales Objection System dojo. And hello, everybody. I'm so thrilled to be here. This lady's got a lot of value as well. So it's awesome to be here. Thanks so much for having me.
Well, thanks, Joe. Let's start by just share a little bit more about who you are and what you do.
You know what? Well, thank you. One of the things that I offer is this concept of what's called the SOS, the Sales Objection System. And the moment that people hear the word sales, right, what goes through your mind, everybody? It's icky, it's yuck, it's gross. And there's two reasons for that. Number one, nobody, myself included, I hate being sold to. Now, there's a saying that you've heard me say, Leah, often in the dojo, and that's people don't want to be sold. They want to choose to buy. And so, that's part one, right? We don't like being sold. The other part is because we don't like being sold, because we think of the idea of being manipulative or being high pressure, is that for those of us that offer great products that make differences in people's lives or services that make differences in people's lives, and we help people live a better quality of life, whether it's through programs or with coaching or a variety of different ways, we want to be able to offer the impact. And yet because we feel that same, I don't want to project on people, I don't want to be pushy. What happens is we actually stop ourselves of being able to live our greatness by being able to serve. And so what we do in the dojo is we help people with their mindset as well as the right words, tone of voice, and even body language to use. And we make it so that you become authentic. And Leah, you know this firsthand. It doesn't happen overnight. And we work on it so that you don't become pushy, you become authentic. And everybody's got a different style of their own. And we're just here to help you with course corrections that will get you the results. Because what is the result? It's all about win-win. You help your target audience get to the goals that they want and or solve the problems. And that could be through a product or a service. And then, of course, the win for you in that is, you get to make a little bit of money on that. And that's not, we're not sitting here opening up briefcases of, millions of dollars and we're flying on jets and everything like that. That's not it at all. What I want for a lot of people that are watching this is I want you to be able to have an impact on people's lives. And I don't want you to be working around the clock, because many of the people that are in the dojo, they have families. So they want to be able to spend time with the people that they love while still having a reason for doing the work that they do. And if we don't have the ability to communicate correctly with people where they feel compelled to say, you know what, Leah? Yeah, you know what? I'm here. I'm going to give you my money, my hard-earned money, right? Because it just doesn't happen like that. People just go, here, have my money, right? We need to build that relationship of know, like, and trust without being pushy or salesy. So that's what we do.
And I mean, that's why I have loved the SOS Dojo. I know for myself coming into this, my whole business is based on empathy in a way. And it can be really hard to approach a relationship with someone where they're saying, oh, I just don't have the money. And here's a woe is me story. And how, I was taking that on for sure. And I was feeling it.
Yeah.
And, that's one of the things I've really loved about this and why I want to talk to you today, because I don't think I'm the only one. Like you mentioned, no one wants to feel like the greasy car salesman. No one wants to feel like they're hurting people when they're actually trying to help. So obviously, I would recommend that everyone come try out the dojo because it's amazing. But even for people who are just watching today who maybe aren't ready for that kind of commitment yet, what kinds of things would you suggest that they do to help keep working on that mindset?
So the first thing is, I'll give you the SOS formula right now. because it's the formula is simple. It's a 2-step formula. Okay, so the step that, again, people get these roadblocks, right? What happens is that when our emotions, we have an emotional response, right? When somebody says, yeah, you know what, I'm going to think about it. And this is after we've spent all this time building up the relationship. And then we have to say, so what do you think? Would you like to, get on board? Would you like to purchase this? And it's hard. It's truly hard for a lot of people to even ask. But then when we get to that moment of truth where we do say, would you like to? And people go, well, I want to think about it, or wow, that's a lot of money, or yeah, I just can't afford it. And there's a variety of things that people say. And I just want to preface this, everybody. People have a hard time making these decisions because they're afraid. This is really challenging for people to hear. Our customers are generally afraid to make the wrong decision. And it's not our job to push them to make a decision. It's our job to motivate them in a way where they can come up to make the decision on their own. And so the 2-step process is, step 1, we acknowledge the person, right? They can say, oh, I want to do some research before. And that's fair. So we acknowledge that. Hey, you know what? I can appreciate that you want to be well-informed, right? And then the next thing is we have to ask a question. Like if we let people leave and they go on the internet and it's that rabbit hole of too much information, and then they get confused, and unfortunately they might actually go into buying something that doesn't serve them, like what we have to offer, like what you who are watching have to offer, right? Because I'm sure you care about your prospects and customers. And if you truly care, then you would actually ask the question, so what is it specifically that you want to research that you and I didn't get a chance to talk about today? And by practicing that, Leah firsthand, we practice this in a small group setting where we just help you stretch out of your comfort zone. And again, it's not, push out of your comfort zone where we're pushing people. That's not it at all. It's not being pushy. We need to work on our authentic selves and also our mindset so that we can help our clients. And that's the critical component. So it's a 2-step process. Step 1, acknowledge the person, don't acknowledge the objection. And then step 2, ask a question. And very well, there are words that we can use, Leah, that will compel people to really reflect, and they provide influence in the thinking process. Because if you guys are like me, right, I really want to help people. So I want to make sure, well, what are the best words to use? And so we provide that for you in the dojo. And then as a group, we practice it. And I call it a dojo because it's like martial arts. You have different people that have different levels of ability. So you've got some people that are black belts. You have some people that are brown belts and blue belts and yellow belts and green belts. And you're fresh as a white belt. And that's okay. We all work together. And so the group consciousness goes up and everybody wants to help each other out. It's a great community and it's the safest place to make mistakes. Leah's smiling because she knew where I was going. It's the safest place to make mistakes. And I'll tell you what, we all, myself included, even the sales sensei, will make mistakes in the dojo. It's when you're better off making the mistakes in there as opposed to when you're actually on a call with someone or having that conversation. And I want to reiterate this. You don't end up being this robotic script. When you've practiced enough, you get to be authentic, and people just end up having conversations with their clients and prospects. And you're just having a conversation and it just flows out of you. It's natural. And that's the beauty of it.
Well, I think even in our dojo sessions, as we practice these pieces, you see everyone start taking the base idea and making it into their own. And from the beginning to the end of one session, you'll see the naturalness come along because they've realized, oh, that's not language I'd use, or that doesn't fit my area, right? The clients I'm talking to. Mm-hmm. And I think, that's the other piece that speaks to me, because one of my foundational pieces is experiential learning. And I think, once again, with sales, a lot of people, there's great books out there. There's great resources that you can read online and find out all this information. And one of the big differences to me is that concept of intentionally going in, practicing that skill development, challenging that, and using that for growth versus just like everyone's getting the information from here right now. And I certainly hope they apply it. But whatever that looks like in your home life, whether you ask your partner to start throwing objections at you and see how you do with it, or come join you in the dojo, it's so important.
It's sales in and of itself, again, there's so much mindset that goes on, because if we don't have the right headspace, and there's a lot of people that join the dojo, and when they first start, they say it, oh, I hate sales. Or they go, I don't want to be a robot. And it's like, yeah, don't worry, you won't be. You're going to be you, whoever you are. You will walk out of the dojo and you're going to be authentically you. And what's amazing is, because you've been prepared, now you don't have these crazy emotional responses. And the example is like, wow, that's really expensive. And a lot of people go, or they feel like because they love what they're doing, and they know what they're bringing is powerful. For example, you hear that's expensive, and then they get emotionally hurt, and they go, well, compared to what? Right? And then suddenly your defensiveness becomes offensive to someone who you actually walked into the conversation with, that you actually want to help. So the key is, what's my approach so that I can be calm and prepared, so that we can practice this. And again, there's nothing phony about this. It's all about you being authentic, and ultimately what is the outcome that we want? We want to help people, and we want to have fun while doing it. That's why I put up here, it's just for fun. Like when you hear those words with someone, you know what, just for fun, let's give this a shot. And that really disarms people, as opposed to, oh, what's it going to be? These are MasterCard. I mean, talk about, like, that is not the approach at all. And so we provide the tools and a great foundation, and then we start stacking. And as you know, Leah, we've done this, right? We've stacked objections on top of objections, because you're not just going to encounter one objection in a conversation. You can encounter literally 5, 6, 7. Like the record is 15 on one particular call held by one of our members, and it's incredible. And what's interesting is the customers, right? That you have prospects first, and then they become customers. These people are thankful that we were able to help them get started. That's the beauty of all of this.
Yeah, I completely agree with you when you said earlier, people are also scared to make a right decision, and taking on this idea that objections are about them not liking your product or not seeing the value. Personally for me, when you talk about, when people also say like, oh, that's too expensive, there can also be a reaction of devaluing yourself.
Exactly.
Of saying it, oh, well, maybe I shouldn't be that expensive if I'm making it inaccessible or anything like that. So that concept of honoring your value, I think I'm doing a lot of talk about boundaries right now, because I have a boundary workshop coming up, and even the boundary of holding your own value, of knowing exactly how much you're willing to barter, we've talked a little bit about, right? Like handling that objection instead of just collapsing. Those are important pieces that are boundaries and value.
I'd be curious to find out from people that are watching, how often do you hear, what kind of deal can you give me? Or can I get a price that's lower than this? Or can you sharpen the pencil? What if I buy 2? And these are examples of people that are, hey, I'm interested. It's an ask to buy question. And yet what ends up happening a lot of times, that well-meaning entrepreneurs, right, that are working their butts off, like excessively long hours, and they feel that they have to discount to be able to provide the value. And it's completely opposite. I mean, think of it. If you had to discount and then suddenly you're providing the same level of service to other people that might have paid more, how likely is it that you're actually going to resent the people that got a lower price? Right? I don't want you to resent your customers. I want you to feel that your customers are getting incredible value, and you're allowed to hold your price, especially if you're bringing value to the table. And again, it comes all back to, what's my mindset on top of, am I skilled enough? Like, what are the words that I need to use? How do I use my words? And what's my body language? Because we talk about 7% words, 38% tone of voice. Like, this is a musical instrument, and you can use it to help influence, not manipulate. There's a difference here. We're influencing people and motivating people so they get to know, like, and trust us. And then when they trust us, what do? They go, you know what, Leah? Yeah, I trust you. Here's my money, right? That's what we want. And so we have to approach it in such a way where we're still motivating and it's win-win. They get the value of what we have to offer and they pay us what we're worth. Because you can't do it at a discount, guys, because if you do, you will resent your client and that will lead to disaster.
No, I completely agree with you. And it brings to mind, when I first started out, obviously, before I met you, I had given someone a discount because I did have that empathy thing and there's a sob story and I'm trying to start out. And, later when I was talking to them, they were mentioning some of the expensive purchases they'd made somewhere else. And it really hit home for me, like, yeah, that wasn't that they didn't have the money. It was something around the decision or something around the value I had been able to express at the time of how they saw that. So
I think of the value that you bring for people with their relationships with others, for example, in terms of what you're doing. And, the program that you offer, I still feel that you should charge more. However, and we've had this conversation before, because what is the value that a parent would have to the relationship that they have with their child, for example, like with their teen? I mean, it's huge, right? And then in the same token, I've heard of people going out and having a meal at a nice restaurant and they've spent $300. Now granted, it could be a very special occasion. That's great. That $300, if you applied that $300 to the relationship that you have with a child, like your own flesh and blood, isn't that worth 10x that dinner? Like, that dinner is a fleeting moment. The relationship you have is a lifetime. So, I mean, is that a question of being pushy, or is it a question of, I know the value that I'm bringing and I want to be able to impart that with you? What do I need to do to be able to help? And that's really what you're bringing. And I think it's imperative that we have to remind ourselves, and this is the other part, that the intangibles of the dojo, yes, you're going to make more sales, you're going to have a bigger impact. And that's, to me, the value. The amount of testimonials that we've had in the last year since the dojo started has just been unbelievable. And we're onto something, because we do the dojo live on Zoom. That's the beauty of it. So you could be anywhere and you can come to one of the many dojos we have happening every week.
And, as you've said before, which really helped me too, is those that pay attention.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's one of those things for a program like yours. It boggles my mind that somebody can spend, $50 on a bottle of wine and at a snap of a finger. And I don't have that great a palate, so I couldn't tell the difference between a $30 or $50 bottle of wine in my world. However, and there's things that I'll spend a lot of money on that I have a passion for, like fishing gear and whatnot. However, it boggles my mind in terms of how much money would you want to spend on what's between your two ears, and or on your authentic self, and more importantly, on the impact that you can make on others. That's why we offer 100% money back guarantee. If you're not happy, I give you your money back. And I've never had to. However, I would, not a problem at all. If after 14 weeks of the intro program, you're not satisfied, I'll give you your whole money back.
And I'm doing the same thing. I don't want, because I think we're the same in that. I don't want someone to come to my program and not get value. That defeats the entire purpose of what I'm doing. And yeah.
I mean, it's and that, again, those that pay attention. If you were to offer it for free, nobody would take it seriously, right? They wouldn't show up. I missed it. No big deal. If somebody paid, for example, one of my coaches said this, back when he was first starting 4 years ago, he said he didn't have the money. He borrowed the money to go to this $10,000 weekend event. He had to get there because he put out $10,000.
Yeah.
Right. And guess what? He squeezed that program for everything it was worth, and rightly so. Right. And I want people to do the same thing, within the dojo. And you'll get way more value.
Well, in the world too, right now, where everyone is online and there's so many free online offerings, I think it's an extra piece too that people really have to be aware and be able to speak to that, because there's someone who's offering a percentage of your value for free over here, and addressing that is also important.
Yeah, I mean, again, there's a significant amount of information and that's the challenge, right? How can you decipher that? And for me, it's about time collapsing. I'm taking 35 years of sales experience, both in retail, in coaching, and business to business sales. So I've had a very blessed career. And then with all the coaching that I do, because I've currently got 3 coaches that I pay for month after month, and I get tons of value from them. And I'm able to impart all of this stuff, and yet we do it live. So, I could read a book from my bookshelf, and that's great. And I might get a golden nugget or two. It's just so easy to fall back into these bad habits. So what we do is we reinforce the good habits. And how do we start, Leah, every week? What's the first thing we do before we even start delving into the actual practice of the dojo?
Win of the week.
Win of the week, right? So we cultivate this culture of progress within the dojo. So everybody's got to share, and it doesn't have to be business related. A win of the week could be personal. It could be, hey, I woke up 5 minutes before my alarm today. That's a huge win, right? And then sometimes it's, I got 5 people into my program. I sold 5 bicycles today. I had 3 people that ended up purchasing, my nutrition product, or I have 4 people that are into my weight loss program. And I mean, all of that. And you know what? The value is so good. And we all end up we also get motivated by other people's wins, right? And if you're an entrepreneur, or if you work for someone and you're in this position where you have to, maybe stretch out of your comfort zone, whether you're a regular, salesperson or someone who just you don't like the idea of it, we're all competitive. And so this culture of celebrating everybody's wins, to me, is really important. And that's the other thing, Leah, and I think you've probably figured this out. Like, we filter who can actually get into the dojo. Like, we don't let anybody in. If you don't have the attitude that we have, or if you're just in it for the money, you know what? You can go somewhere else. There's other programs. Go ahead. If you're into being ethical, having integrity, you don't want to be pushy, because you've heard me say it before. Take the information that we have to offer like spare ribs. You keep the meat and you throw away the bone. You don't have to agree with 100% of everything that we have to say. And I'll tell you, nobody's going to close 100% of the people 100% of the time. You're just not. And that's okay. The question here is, what's the level of progress? Can we keep offering more progress? Because that progress will make a difference, not only in your business, in the lives of others.
I want to take a moment to say hi, Chander, I'm guessing is how you pronounce that. Thanks for joining us today. He said hello,
Hey.
you too, if you can't see comments. Also, I just want to put out, I love the idea too, that win of the week piece is actually something I incorporate in my personal life and ritual. And in that sense too, just of people celebrating, outside of sales, I do hope that everyone listening to this is also doing a lot to acknowledge those wins.
Absolutely.
Because that's what grows them. Like you said, that acknowledgement, that celebration.
It's the culture of progress that you can have even around the family table, right? If we of course, with COVID, it can be challenging. We attempt, depending on where you are, with our family, we attempt to have the nucleus of the kids together every week, because the kids are no longer living at home. So when with COVID and whatnot, like this coming weekend, we're gonna have an Easter fire outside, right? We're gonna do what we can, and we all talk about wins. I literally make a point of it. Okay, so what's your win of the week, guys? And we call it the wow moment. And I would encourage you all to share your wow. What's your win of the week? Business or personal, big or small, it doesn't matter. And even with now, I've got people that have been in the dojo for so many months that they're now becoming teachers. Even if they've got full-time businesses, they're growing themselves to go, hey, you know what, Joe? I'd like to help you. And which is great, because now they're becoming black belts within the dojo. And you've expressed interest in that, Leah, and I'd love to help you get there, because if you really want to master something like this, I've always said it, if you really want to master a subject, you teach it. Right, you teach it. And so I give people the opportunity to co-teach with me, and then after that, we go, okay, you're ready. And then you start helping other people, and it's 45 minutes to an hour a week, and you're still getting the opportunity to get paid as a black belt within the dojo. More importantly, what it does for you is it helps you master that skill which again is all about integrity, ethics to relationship building sales, as opposed to, some other people that are out there. It's not about ethics and integrity. It's all about close. And it's that I think today more than ever, again, with the culture that we've been creating within the dojo, there's more people that are looking to have that heart space. That still doesn't mean that you can't learn a skill, because there's part skill and part comfort level in here, as opposed to letting this stop you because sales. And like, okay, let's come from a place of here. When we come from here, we can actually work with this as opposed to work against it, right? And you've experienced that.
Totally. And you're preaching to the choir here. I agree. As soon as you can teach something, that skill piece really reinforces it.
Yeah.
And again, it comes down to that practice as well. Just practice, practice. I'm just aware of the time that we should wrap up soon. Are there any last things that you would like to share with the audience that maybe are skills that they can be practicing on their own outside of your two-step system, which we love?
Yeah, you know what? I mean, there's nothing better than being able to get together with somebody else and practice. And people don't like the idea of role play. If you don't do that, you're going to not be as successful. So what we do in the dojo is we call it sparring as opposed to sales training, because honestly, sales training doesn't work. We've proven that sales sparring actually works. So if you can surround yourself on a regular basis and have a scheduled approach, you'll be successful. We do it for you in a we literally spoon feed you. You can't go wrong. And you know it, Leah, right? It's like, it's very tasty and it works. And we have a lot of fun. These words just for fun aren't just up on the wall. I don't know. If you're laughing, you're learning because you get that emotional connection. And that's what's fun. So I would encourage you, take those 2 steps, acknowledge, ask a question. And if you're interested that you want to, hey, what's this dojo thing all about? If you're curious, you can email me, joe@joemarcoux.com, and I'll get you into a free session, absolutely free. Don't worry. There's no obligation. You don't pay a thing. You come in for an hour and work with other people that are actually in the dojo as members, and you'll see firsthand what it's all about. Maybe you might even get lucky to be in a dojo where Leah's in it at the same time. It's a blast. Total blast. You'll learn a lot.
Thank you, Joe.
Yeah.
Well, I hope you guys got a lot out of that. Joe, we'll make sure we get your contact info as well in the chat box after this so people are able to find it, because I certainly think, you've done so much for me in terms of how you've helped reframe, and hopefully people listening to this will have also gotten that same reframe in their mind, that they don't have to feel guilty, they don't have to feel like salespeople, and that they can handle those objections, value themselves, and bring their amazing products to people. So thank you so much.
It's always a pleasure.
My sales sensei.
Much respect to everyone watching.
Thank you. Bye-bye.